Hey, welcome to the podcast. Just letting you know that there could be swearing and or graphic material. I don't know which ones. Listen at your own risk.
From day one, you fought for your life, and you blew everyone away.
Hello.
Hi,
Welcome back.
I'm Jesse,
I'm Alisha.
and we are changing the chances.
Still here,
Yep.
regardless of missing a whole week.
Yeah, we missed a week, but, things come up, things happen,
They
life
do.
happens.
And we're going to catch up because that's what we do.
Yep.
It's life. And this is what we do. So, actually, I think we want to talk about Lagoon first.
Well, the reason we were a week short, our producer was not feeling well.
Yeah.
And,
But there's a whole lot more to it.
Well,
Do you want to talk about that first?
Oh, I figured, why don't we cover that? Because that's the reason we missed a week.
Oh, I guess that's true. I thought that kind of like linked into the whole dog issue. So I thought we were going to talk all about that together. Do you want to
Kind
do
of.
that
Yeah,
first?
whatever.
I guess we're going to talk about why we missed a whole week first. It's totally cool. No worries. Scratch Lagoon. We'll come back to that. No big deal. Yes, our producer did not feel well. He was struggling with his own health.
Having a killer headache for
Crap.
like a week. Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, lead you down the rabbit hole and make sure there's not anything serious happening, because it's not normal for most people to have a headache for a week. So,
This is true.
yeah, that was terrible. But here we are. So he's feeling better, mostly better. Well, he's wiggling his arm so good, I guess. We're going to go with good. And it was also a little crazy because Piper's fine. This has nothing to do with Piper. It has to do with the dog. Our super sweet dog, Sammy, got really sick. And, she's a dog. She cannot tell me what is going on. We just realized she wasn't getting excited and she wasn't eating, and awesome.
Started getting real mopey.
All that stuff.
Yeah, just was not acting like herself at all.
So I did not realize that getting an animal into a vet was
So difficult.
It was
right now.
hard. It was really hard. So I took her to an emergency vet. And I tell you, it's just like when you take our child to the emergency room, because you just sit around for an
Hours.
unknown period of time
Waiting.
for answers. On this particular visit, they ran some blood, and the vet said he thought that she probably had pancreatitis, sent her home with some pain meds, and said she just needs to eat. Bye-bye. That was an expensive visit for that information.
What, $400 bill for that?
2 days after that, Sammy had a massive bump on her head.
She had a real big, it looked like a goose egg at first, like she hit her head or got bit by something.
Massive. So my aunt actually came over, and her and Jesse shaved Sammy's head to see if, she'd gotten hurt.
Bit by something.
Yeah.
And we, Alicia's aunt and I, we thought she had gotten bit because she looked like she had a little itty bitty little puncture wound, like maybe stung by a hornet or something. It's kind of what we thought.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of bruising
Mm-hmm.
and just really swollen. And so, yeah, we shaved it and I put an ice pack on it, tried to help with the swelling and stuff, and nothing. It just kept getting bigger.
Yeah. So a couple days after that, we woke up and her head had actually split open.
It had swelled so much
Yeah.
that it had split open.
That was terrible. I can only imagine how this poor dog felt.
Yeah, I got up in the morning and got ready for work and walked over to get Sammy so that I could take her outside to go potty in the morning, and was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? You are bleeding from your head. Like,
Yeah.
And she was miserable. Her poor eyes were almost swollen shut. Like,
So terrible.
just,
So Piper actually had summer school, so I took her to school and started making phone calls because she clearly needed to go back in because clearly something was wrong.
Yeah. This was not pancreatitis.
No. So I called 2 emergency places for animals, and they were not accepting pets at the moment. Well, one wasn't at all, and one was only accepting critical pets.
Well, and at this point, I felt like Sammy was critical because she wasn't eating. She was barely drinking. She didn't have the strength to go outside. So she was just
having accidents
in the house. And it was coming out like it was bloody black tar is what it was like. And it was really starting to scare me.
Another place didn't even answer. Another place's phone number on the internet was wrong because it just went to a busy signal every time I tried to call. And I'm going to tell you.
Getting a little stressed out.
Like, my stress level was high. And I definitely think I think the whole, like, Piper role plays into this. Like,
because Piper can't tell us what's going on.
Piper can never tell us what's wrong, and it's a guessing game, and you're calling doctors, and you're taking her to the ER, and you're just trying to figure it out. And now I have this dog who obviously needs to be seen, and I can't get her in anywhere, and she can't tell me what's wrong. And oh my God, I finally called a place on a whim. It was literally just something that pulled up on Google. Called them. I had to leave a message because they didn't answer. I was like on the verge of tears because I'm like, I've called everywhere and I don't know where to take her and she needs to be seen and just please call me back. And I don't know. I know this is like a long shot.
Yeah. Did you hear Mama freaking out?
She did not. She was at school.
Oh, yeah. That's what.
But they called me back and they got me in. And I'm so grateful they did. They actually were amazing. So nice. So it turns out she did get something happened. She must have got bit
like
or scratched
or scratch or something that
she
got infected.
Got infected.
So she had a giant abscess
on her head. So they had to cut it open, drain it, all fun stuff. So she had a drain in her head for 3 days, and it looked a little rough when I first saw it, and it was a little rough to look at. But even just having been through all that, the change was night and day in her. Like, you could tell that pressure was.
The next day. Yeah,
she wasn't back to herself, but she definitely was like, oh man.
Like, you could tell. Like, she could open her eyes completely.
Yeah.
She started wagging her tail.
Yes.
Like, she was walking around.
Like, the
she
relief
was drinking water.
that I
she
felt.
was trying to actually eat. Like, she had given up on trying to eat. Like, she was trying to eat. And it was like, oh my gosh.
I know.
But didn't the vet say something like it went all the way down to her bone?
Yeah, it did. It was really bad. And the infection went all the way down to her bone. And I and again, I felt awful. Like,
did they tell you how many stitches they ended up having to put on her head?
Well, so we took her back in to get the drain removed. So she had to have him for 3 days. And normally they just remove it and let it heal up. Just so you know, it gets a little graphic right at this moment. Anybody listening. So when they took the drain out, because the infection went all the way to the bone, there was like a middle section that was really bad. And the whole scab came off. So she basically just had a giant hole in her head that you could see all the way down to her skull. And so the vet came out and was like, I think we really should stitch this up because there is a massive hole in her head.
Because all that tissue had just been infected
and died. Yeah, it was really bad. So, I think we're really lucky that we finally figured out what it was. And she seems to be, other than she has to wear a cone because she has stitches in her head.
Yeah, and she's wanting to scratch on it and stuff. The other day, she was rubbing her head. We were at Alicia's parents' house, and we were all sitting around the table, and she came over, stuck her head, cone and all, like, in my foot, like, had my foot inside the cone, and was rubbing her forehead on my foot. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I realized what it was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you were trying so desperately to scratch your forehead. I'm like, no, you can't. You have stitches. Like, we can't open those.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, other than having to wear a cone and stitches in her head, she's pretty much back to baseline.
She's jumping up on her hind legs. She's going out and going potty. She's barking. She's
oh my gosh.
Eating, drinking, doing all that. Like, she's coming back to being Sammy.
And it's just.
And we've only had her for like a year.
Just over a year and 3 months we've had her. And I No, I told Jesse, I said, it is official, like 100 million % that we won't have another dog because I cannot have another creature in this house that is relying on me to stay alive, who cannot tell me what is going on. I can't do it. I cannot do it. It's too much for me. It sends me over the edge. I mean, 'cause she's family and we love her. And
yeah, and she's a good dog.
It's hard. And no. But she seems to be doing better. So we can all breathe a little bit and continue on with life.
Nope. Now we just got to pay for it.
So, that's all the crazy that's been kind of going on around here.
Yeah, for the most part.
Now that that's out of the way, we can talk about the good stuff.
Yeah. So last weekend.
Lagoon, baby.
Yep, last weekend, we had a Lagoon Day.
We did, which we had talked about. We were going to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that may just be joining us and deciding to just start with this episode, in Utah, Lagoon is our little local theme park. Mm-hmm. Definitely overpriced, but it's all we got. So when you get free tickets, you just go.
You do.
Yep.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. You just go. And it is. It's a good time. It's fun. It's just a little overpriced in my opinion. But
I feel you. Especially when you have a kid who can only ride a couple of rides. So
exactly. It's like you're going to charge me full price for a handicapped child that can only ride 3 rides. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But no, we had a good time. We went. It was me, you, and your mom and Piper. And
my nephew Trip
and
his cousin Alex.
Yep.
And actually we had a really good time. It was super fun.
Your mom actually gave some tickets to some people that I work with too. Mm-hmm. So
hopefully they had a good time.
Yeah, she said that they had a blast. That,
good.
Other than being scorching hot, like she's like, yeah, I think she said they only hung out till like 2:30.
Oh yeah, I think we left at 2.
They were like, it's just getting
just
too hot because they showed up probably half an hour after we did, 45 minutes after we did. So, but she said that she got to enjoy it, her and her kids and her husband, like they all had a good time. So
I love to hear that.
But
I love to hear that.
We got Piper on Tidal Wave. Which
we have talked about.
Yes. And she did not disappoint. No. She loved it.
So it was the first.
Hooted and hollered and threw her hands up. And
yes.
It's the best. Like,
it's the first ride we hit because we were there right when they opened because we like to be in and out and done.
Yeah.
1, because it's hot, and 2, for people.
And we got to ride it back to back. We didn't even get off the ride.
We didn't even get off because it was just us on it the first go around.
There was one lady.
And then one lady got on for the second. I'm like, can we just stay on? Because it's really stupid to make us get off to get back on.
Just to walk through the line to get back on.
So she let us stay on because it's Piper's favorite ride.
It is.
She loves it. It's the giant boat that swings back and forth really high. She loves it.
Nah, it's a good one.
So we rode it twice.
Honestly, I wish she had a little bit more trunk control because I bet she would love the swings.
She would love the swings.
She really would.
Yeah. We did take her on a new ride this year. Mm-hmm. And Alisha wanted to take her on it last year, but we couldn't find it. So either it wasn't up and running last year.
I think they might have took it down because they moved it, didn't they?
Yeah. I'm like, it's gone. They moved it, but I couldn't find it.
And it wasn't, I don't think they had it up last year.
So this year it was up and running. It's called the Screamer. And there's no seatbelts. You just sit in a little cart and it spins you upside down. And the force just holds you in your seat.
Yep.
And
it's a great thing about physics.
I know. Piper loved it so much. I did not. My motion sickness was rough. That was a rough one. It was the last ride though, so it was good to go. Perfect timing. But she absolutely loved it. I did post pictures. If anybody follows me, I did post pictures from Lagoon, and she does not look thrilled in a lot of the pictures.
She was hot because it really was. Hot. It was like 102. Like it was hot.
The problem is the only like really good pictures I can get is when the ride's not moving and she's not excited until the ride moves. So getting that optimal picture that's showing the actual enjoyment of it is hard because I'm trying to hold her and like you're moving. It's not easy. Yeah, It's a whole situation. So
Well, even with both of us, when we were sitting on Tidal Wave, like it's a little easier because she's sitting between the two of us, so you can have a little more control with your phone. But
yeah,
it's still not easy because there's no shade, so you can't see what you're taking a dang picture of because the sun is like you can't see
you're
your
just
screen.
like putting it out there and hoping that you're getting what you're aiming for. Yeah.
But yeah, I had a great time. It was fun. Like
I love it. I do look forward to
we
it.
got to ride the ride set. We enjoyed and stuff. The only one I didn't get to do was the Samurai, but I was not going to wait in the line for that. After waiting in line for Cannibal, like I was done. I'm like, no,
well, there is no shade in Samurai. That's all sun. So.
Yeah. And it was already the end of the day. And I was like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to try and get her on the
I'm
screamer.
like, I have to get her on the
So
screamer.
I'm like, fine, you guys go and do that. I'm going to the van. That's it. We'll call it.
Yeah.
And no joke, like I got to the van and 20 minutes later, Alisha and Piper come walking out and we were out of there. Like,
yeah.
Done.
I had to take her on the screamer. I was so excited for it. Because she should ride all the rides that she wants to ride.
Yeah. And she did enjoy it.
Oh, well, actually, she went on the Scrambler this year, too. We didn't take her.
Oh, yeah.
And
didn't you do the Tilt-A-Whirl?
Well, we did the Tilt-A-Whirl last year. But yeah, she loves the Tilt-A-Whirl.
The Tilt-A-Whirl. So she did Tidal Wave, Tilt-A-Whirl, Screamer, and
Scrambler.
So there's 4 rides.
She can do the music coaster, but we opted out of it because at the moment I was dizzy from a previous ride. And I'm like, I cannot spin anymore.
So essentially 5 rides. Like Piper can get 5 rides.
6. Because she can ride the bus in the kids area.
Yeah, that's right. The bus.
I mean, and there's probably more. I mean, like she could probably ride Rattlesnake Rapids. I don't know if she would love it, but she could. She doesn't
so she likes water, but she doesn't like it when it just splashes in her face or just hits her out of nowhere.
She can ride the log flume, but again, those rides to wait for are ridiculous, and I don't know that she'll love them again because of the cold water that just attacks you. And not only that,
she doesn't want to just sit in one spot waiting.
Yeah.
She does not want to
So, I mean, there are rides, but, you have to judge. Is this worth the wait? Is it going to be something that's going to be worth the wait?
Because honestly, by the time you get on it, she's done. Like, she's done waiting in line because she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand
We didn't wait in very many long lines with her. The ones she went on, we were on and off pretty dang
Yeah, they were
fast.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because you guys rode 2 rides in the amount of time it took me waiting to ride.
3.
Oh, you rode 3?
Well, I mean, me and her rode 2, but Trip went back and rode the Scrambler one more time, remember?
Oh, okay, that's right.
But
because me and Alex went and rode Cannibal, and we stood out in the sun for 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. So you guys got 3 rides in while we waited for 1.
But, they're not the popular rides.
No, they're not. Cannibal's one of the more popular rides.
Because, these rides are, I feel like the rides that she can ride are way more like...
What did you do?
Oh, my goodness.
What did you do?
Did you take yourself out? Oh, yeah. Well, she thinks it's hilarious, so... But I think that the rides Piper can ride, I contribute more to, like, fair rides. Like, you would see them at a fair. As opposed to, like, the bigger rides that are only at theme parks because they're, like, massive roller coasters. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I bet if we could get her in it, even though there's no space, there'd be no way for us to do it. But if we could get her on the zipper, sitting between the two of us, and get it rocking.
Oh, my God.
She would lose her shit. She would love it.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Because that's her jam right there.
Loves it.
But it's already too tight with me and you because the cage is so small.
Yeah, and we are not small humans, so.
Oh no. I've earned this dad bod. I have earned this dad bod. I have put in the time and effort.
So that turned out really good, and we had a good day.
Yeah, it was super fun. Everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
It was good.
It's a good little day trip for us.
And then this weekend. My cousin was in town, my cousin Amanda, that she's dealing with some stuff. My aunt passed away last Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving.
Yes, which we did talk about.
Which, I talked about on the podcast, about going out there and spending time with family and stuff. And so I got to see my cousin Amanda when I was out there for my aunt Brenda. So she was out here visiting a friend of hers, just kind of trying to de-stress and get some R&R and get a break from some things and whatnot. So last Thursday night, she came over. I went and picked her up and we had dinner and just kind of hung out. She got to meet Alisha and Piper for the very first time.
I know. I've never met her before.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if anybody's been around, we don't talk about like your extended family very much because we don't see them because they'll live not here.
Yeah, they're all scattered. Like both of my cousins, one or two of my cousins, they moved from California to Arizona, which they're closer. But again, we just don't talk a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we did. I should actually take it upon myself and try and
I know. That way we can go visit them.
Yeah, go out. Extend an invite and try and spark conversation and get that going. But yeah, most of my family lives in California, and it's just very difficult communication wise, especially with the rat race that is the world we live in these days. But yeah, she was out here and she told me she was coming, and we were able to get together. She actually came over last night or yesterday actually, and spent pretty much the whole day and spent the night, hung out, played some Yahtzee, and
just talked.
Yeah, just hung out and talked, and
when you don't get to see somebody, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
she's super sweet. And
it
was actually nice to finally meet her.
Yeah, it was. I was very excited for you to meet Amanda. So now we just need to try and get around to meeting some more of my family.
Get on that.
Ugh.
Start reaching out.
I do. I need to do that because my cousin, one of my cousins that live in Arizona, I think we would get along very well with.
Yeah.
I know that 2 of his children are on the spectrum, and all 3 of his kids are just adorable. I see him because I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I'm friends with his wife on Facebook, and they're good people. We just don't talk as often as I would like. But their kids are just angels. They're so cute. They're so cute. And their little girl, Kimberly, she's a doll. But yeah, it was really nice to see my cousin Amanda. And I was a little bummed that she didn't have her kid with her because her kid's super chill. Alyssa's hella chill. She's getting, she just graduated and she's getting ready to turn 18. And I'm like, I remember when I first saw you and you were like 3 years old, 2 years old.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, and now she's getting ready to be 18, and it's like, man.
Definitely an adult.
Because I saw her when I went out to California for my Aunt Brenda, and because her and Amanda had come over, and it was like, is this the same girl? Like, oh my goodness. Like, she's grown into such a pretty young woman. Like, she could be a model, honestly. Like, I'm not even saying this because she's my family. Like, if she wasn't, I'd look at her and be like, she could be a model. So, yeah, I told my cousin Amanda, I'm like, next time you come out, you got to bring her. Because my cousin Amanda doesn't do sushi. And I remember talking to her daughter, Alisha, and her and I started talking about sushi when I was out in California. And she's like, dude, that's my shit, man. That's my jam. So I told her, I'm like, next time you come out, you got to bring your daughter so we can go out and have sushi. She's like, yeah, for sure. So it was really nice to see family.
Yeah, I loved it. I love getting to meet your family because I don't get to. Obviously, we've been together this long, and
yeah,
I haven't met most of them. So,
well, you got to meet Sean and Tess when we went out to Lake Tahoe.
Oh, I did. One, I got to meet Brenda and.
Oh, and I'm like, and you got to meet my Aunt Brenda and my Uncle Ronnie.
Yeah.
When we went out to San Diego, we drove up and got to see them.
So, I mean, I have met some of them.
Which I'm really glad. I'm really glad you got to meet my Aunt Brenda because she was
lady.
Such a sweet woman.
She was.
Such a sweet woman.
Agreed. She really was.
And my Uncle Ronnie. Yeah, he's a great guy too.
Yeah, so we got to do that. That was super fun. Super nice.
Yeah,
Loved it. And Piper and I spent some time today with Hannah and Kat. We've mentioned them before. Hannah's my niece.
They're kind of like extended family.
Yeah, I call Hannah my niece all the time.
Yeah.
She's been around. And we went to like a children's discovery museum today, and we were there, and obviously it's a children's place, so there's children everywhere. Everywhere.
Screaming children everywhere.
But a girl walked up. She is probably 8.
So Piper's age.
Yeah, she was probably 8. And, again, it's like just pure like innocence and like curiosity. Yeah. Walked up and was like, why is she in a wheelchair? Which is funny because
kids are more curious and will come up and ask questions before adults.
Well, but there are so many adults I run into that never call it a wheelchair, which I think is weird.
Really?
Yeah.
What do they call it? A stroller?
A stroller.
It's not a stroller.
Well, I know that.
Well, no, I know you know that. I'm like, it doesn't even look like a stroller. It looks like a wheelchair.
So
like,
that was just like a
why-
distinction that I thought was funny because, she's 8.
yeah, a
Or
little
like,
child. A little child recognizing what it is.
So she comes up and she's like, why is she in a wheelchair? And I'm like, well, she doesn't walk. Because if you don't know a kid, you don't want to like get too detailed because you don't
know what they can understand, so to speak.
And it's not my place to educate somebody's kid in detail about all the horrific things Piper's had to go through in her life. And I was like, oh, she can't walk. She's like, well, why not? And I said, well, that's just how she was born. And she just doesn't walk. She's like, well, we all walk. And I'm like, you're right. We do all walk. And she's like, well, I think we could teach her to walk. And I'm like, we're trying. We're working on it. She's like, I think we should teach her to walk.
Are you trying to knock it over again?
Yeah. And, power to her. If she can get Piper out of that wheelchair walking,
oh my
that girl can have anything she wants.
Yeah, I'm like, I would, yep.
But I just thought it was cute. I love an interaction with a kid because they are just curious and they're
just so innocent about it. Like they are genuinely curious.
And like,
about
why doesn't she walk?
Yeah.
Why? That seems
what
ridiculous.
What is so different? Like why is she in this chair? Why isn't she just walking around like me?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's going on there?
Another thing that I was talking to Jesse about earlier at this place. So what it looks like is businesses sponsor probably, or like Macy's, the grocery store. So
I think they give donations.
So in this place it says Macy's and it's like a makeshift grocery store and kids can shop, for groceries. Or like there was a bank and it was sponsored by a bank. So up on the roof of this place, it's sponsored by the Children's Hospital here in Utah. And we walk up there and we're looking at all the stuff and on the inside I'm just laughing, which is probably not appropriate response, but
Piper's laughing.
But I'm laughing. So they donated a helicopter, It
was probably one that they were putting out of service or something, yeah.
And then they had like the gurneys. You wheel people in. You can wheel them into the emergency room. And then there's a place to take x-rays. And there's all this stuff. And I'm like, well, Piper doesn't need to do any of this because she's actually lived through all of this. She's ridden in the helicopter. She's done the x-rays. She's been on the gurneys. She's been she's literally lived through all of it. Like, it just is one of those moments you're like, wow. I don't know. And there goes her toy, but she thinks it's hilarious.
She broke the leg off on the other side.
I know.
Too. It's the best.
I mean, it's not
She's
the most stable thing, but she likes it.
It's just PVC pipe. It's fine. Did you get it? That's awesome, kid.
But I hope you all are enjoying this laughter in the background because she's having a good time.
Oh yeah, she's having a heyday.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's been what's been
just
going on.
A quick cap, what was going on, how we've been,
and it's funny when we first were discussing what we were going to talk about. I mentioned to Jesse we should probably talk about Sammy, and he's like, "Well, it's not about Piper." And I said, you are correct. And I know that this is centered around her, obviously, because our whole lives are centered around her. But it is changing the chances. And so my thought was, it's really about our family.
It's true.
And our dog is family.
Yeah.
So sorry if this did not live up to your expectations. But,
everybody. Yeah.
Maybe we should take a picture of this right now.
You might have to. And
I'll post it for the podcast.
Because she really is. She's just...
Oh my gosh, so much excitement. Anyways, I think that's it. I think we can say goodbye. And
I think we're good. Good recap.
Yeah.
Catch up.
And... I guess we will just talk to you guys next week.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.